This week, Games Workshop has taken the Nerf hammer to the Votaan. Plus, the Army Painter is looking for our feedback, and the X-Men have arrived in Marvel Champions. All of this is brought to you by Ewin Racing. I'm Angela, you're watching Hobby Night. Now let's go ahead and get into this week's hobby news.
Yes? I wrote it all myself. My favorite army? Well, absolutely. They're calling it the most powerful codex ever, which sounds like a good thing. No, I've never read another codex. Haha! Yes, just call me James Work Squat. I don't know what everyone's complaining about. Of course they're good. They needed a leg up. They haven't won a tournament in 30 years. Right, okay. How about this? When you order the army, we'll just cut out the middleman and send you a first place tournament trophy. Listen, I can't talk now. I have to go give Codex Zotes an army-wide 2+ invulnerable save. No, I don't know what it means either. Okay, fine. I'll leave it with you then. Toodaloo. Goodbye. I love you.
This week, the Votaan have been nerfed. That's right. You might remember that last week we talked about how the Votaan on paper were looking pretty powerful, and people were a bit concerned that they might be a bit broken. In fact, so much so that Games Workshop has actually responded to these complaints. They have gone ahead and nerfed the Votaan pretty heavily this week, and we're going to talk about the two major factors that I think are the biggest concerns, one of which I think is a little bit more appropriate than the other. Let's talk about the biggest change, which is how the judgment tokens work. They work a bit differently now in that hits benefiting from them no longer count as automatic 6s to wound. Now previously, they did count as automatic 6s to wound, and if you combine this with some other rules in the codex, including some stuff that happened with some characters, on paper, it was making the Votaan looking extremely powerful with the judgment tokens, which I think is a valid criticism and a good thing to have changed, because honestly for me, I really compare the judgment tokens to the marker lights of the Tau. And while the marker lights can be powerful, I don't really feel like they're that great, and the judgment tokens in comparison previously really felt like they were just completely outdoing what the Tau could do, let alone what some of the other codexes amongst the meta could actually take care of. Now let's talk about the other change, which I think is maybe a little less valid, or at least they may have overdone it a bit, because there were some major points changes to the Votaan that we also got this week, including one for the Hexaton Land Fortress, which thank goodness no one has actually been able to get their hands on yet because it's not out, because man, it has gone up significantly in its cost, and not in the cost of the price, but like the actual points cost. And I just think that is maybe a little unnecessary. Like, I'm not saying that you can't tweak some prices a little bit when it comes to the points, but you really don't need to adjust the points as heavily as I think Games Workshop has, especially considering the fact that I don't even know if I really consider the Votaan officially released. There's one box set out for them, which is somewhat limited, and you can get the codex and a few models there, but the majority of the army is not out yet. And so this is like record speed for Games Workshop to completely invalidate a codex in some way or another. And frankly, I'm personally a little frustrated with it. I just wish that they would actually do something, whether it be changing how they're playtesting things or just looking at the meta a little bit more thoroughly before they come out with these codexes, to actually make it so that these changes don't have to happen so immediately that the book isn't even widely available yet, because that just seems incredibly frustrating to fans, and I wish they would listen to us a bit more specifically. This week's episode is brought to you by Ewin Racing. If you're anything like me, spending long hours at your hobby desk can leave you feeling a bit achy. Well, Ewin Racing has two great solutions to help relieve those aches. You can either check out their gaming chairs or their massage gun, which I, for one, have absolutely been loving and been using very consistently because it's really helped improve those achy muscles that I get from when I'm working at my hobby desk. If this sounds like something that might benefit you, make sure to check the video link in the description below, and be sure to use code HOBBYNIGHT at checkout to save an additional 20% off. Huge thank you to Ewin Racing for sponsoring today's video. Now let's go ahead and get back to the news.
Since 2007, the Army Painter has been committed to designing and producing high-quality products for hobbyists and gamers alike. At the end of the day, that's because we're hobbyists and gamers too.
Would you consider yourself a passionate man?
What do you think?
It's just stuff,
I'd definitely say that I'm fairly passionate.
We don't just talk the talk, and I think that passion comes through in our business and our products. And it's what sets us apart from other companies. Over the years, we've changed the game with some groundbreaking products. Our quick shade dips were the first of their kind. We pioneered 2-in-1 color primer sprays, a 100% color match system, wet palette, speed paints, and our truly airbrush ready war paints air range, just to name a few.
The company and I take a complete personal pride in every single product we produce.
When we hear negative feedback about our products, it's something that we definitely and truly take to heart.
When you talk, we listen.
The Army Painter, though, left a lot to be desired.
50 seconds on the vortex mixer and it's still separated. Ooh.
But the quality of the paint honestly left a little something to be desired. I felt like I was fighting it more than I should have.
Not a great start from Army Painter.
We are truly crazy about what we do, and it's what drives us to make the best products that we can. So when we heard that our war paints were difficult to shake, we knew we needed to do something about that.
Last October in 21, I retrofitted every single paint machine with a mixing ball applicator, so every war paint since have had 2 mixing balls included in them. This was quite an undertaking from a resource and logistics perspective.
Today, over 9 million bottles of war paint now feature preloaded mixing balls, and hobbyists can reap the benefits of mixing their heavily pigmented, high-quality war paints even easier.
But the mixing balls were just the start.
We have much bigger plans for the future of this company. As we continue to develop new products and improve on our current offerings, we personally invite you to offer your opinions, insights, and ideas so that we can make the absolute best paints and products we can.
Because when you talk, we listen.
With your help, we can change the game one more time. Be a part of designing and helping us to develop the absolute best paints and hobby accessories ever made. Email your ideas to feedback@thearmypainter.com.
Speaking of listening to your customers, that is exactly what the Army Painter is doing. They have heard people's complaints about how their pigments sometimes separate from the mediums that hold them and bind them together, and it's a little awkward and people don't really like it. Well, one of the adjustments that they have said that they're going to be making is adding 2 mixing balls to every dropper bottle going forward, which I think is going to make the whole shaking and getting those paints mixed together a lot easier and less time consuming. But they also have done a huge call out for actually asking for the community's opinion. They want our feedback on their current products, on products that maybe we want to see from them, because they genuinely seem like they care about what we have to say and they want to improve what they make for us so that we can continue hobbying and creating cool projects. So if you want to give them some feedback, I've left a link in the video description below where you can find that information. Next up, I'd like to talk about some new miniatures that we're getting because we have a brand new starter set for Underworlds, and it is the Gnarlwood, which is one of the first sets in a long time that has actually excited me for this particular Games Workshop product. I used to really love all the minis they were coming out with, but not as much recently. However, in this new set, there is one faction in particular that absolutely delights me. In this new starter set, you can of course get the board, the cards, and everything that you need to get started in Warhammer Underworlds. We are also getting two factions, the first of which is the Gnarl Spirit Pack, which are a cool sort of like human faction that have a little bit of a beastie tendencies. I really like, in particular, the guy that has a boar mask because it reminds me of Inosuke from Demon Slayer. And there's this really shouty redhead that I also very much like. I just think those models are particularly cool. But the faction that actually excites me about this particular set is the Sons of Velmorn. These are some skelly boys with some glorious bat helmets, and as you may have known if you've been following this channel for the last week and a half, I've been really obsessed with the Night Lords, and because we're going into the Halloween season, I just feel like this is super appropriate, and I cannot wait to get my hands on at least those particular models. I don't know if I'm gonna be picking up this actual two-player starter set myself, but when the Velmorn release separately, I'm definitely going to be grabbing them. It's that time of the video where I interrupt to tell you about my Patreon and to let you know that we just added a Discord server which all tiers get access to. So if you're wanting a way to chat with me, share with me your projects, or just tell me what board games you're playing, definitely make sure to check the link below and check out my Patreon. As you might know, Warhammer Day is coming up and Games Workshop is going to be celebrating 35 years in the industry. My gosh, it's a big number. Well, they have a live stream where they're going to be previewing some new Warhammer 40k models, and I figured, you know what? I'm gonna live stream my reaction to that. So if you wanna meet up with me on October 8th, which is a Saturday at 6 a.m. Pacific time, or I believe that's 9 a.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. British Standard Time, well, I'm going to be live streaming my reaction to all of the new reveals. Come join me, talk to me in chat, and we can gush over all those models together. Last but not least, I want to talk about Marvel Champions, a card game from Fantasy Flight that is set in the Marvel Crisis, or not the Marvel Crisis Protocol, but it's in the MCU. And there is a new expansion coming that has me very excited and actually genuinely was like, I can't believe the X-Men haven't been added to this game already. I know why, it's because of the Fox Disney deal that was worked out, but it blows my mind that it took this long for the X-Men to actually arrive into Marvel Champions. We're getting an all-new expansion called Mutant Genesis, which is going to be featuring the Brotherhood, Magneto will be there, and you even get some hero packs sold separately for both, I believe it's Cyclops currently, and Phoenix, just straight skipping Jean Grey and going into her Phoenix form. And then later on, we're going to be getting a Storm and Wolverine, and I assume probably other heroes down the line. But I just wanted to talk about this because, frankly, I remember when this game came out, it still blows my mind that the X-Men are just now entering it. And I really like the art for this game. I've not played it myself. I want to know how it's improved because I know there were some issues with it, I think, when it first released from what I remember. I could be wrong about that, but let me know. Do you play Marvel Champions? And are you excited for the X-Men being part of the faction now? All right, that has been it for this week in hobby news. Before I head out, I wanted to give a huge thank you to both Ewin Racing for sponsoring today's episode. If you want to take advantage of the 20% discount using Hobby Night and get that massage gun, I would highly recommend it. I have been using it a whole lot. Plus, I'd also like to thank my patrons for making it so content like this can continue to happen. Without your guys' support, we would not be doing this, so thank you very, very much. I have been Angela, and this has been this week's Hobby News. I hope you have a wonderful hobby night.